class, good afternoon. Today we will go over a conversation question and we will dissect the conversation script so I can give you an idea of what parts of the conversation to pay close attention to because they will somehow show up as a form of a question. 오늘 conversation 해부 스크립트 보면서 해부 한번 해볼게요. 해부해 보면서 어떤 파트에 중점으로 노트 테이킹 하셔야 될지 또 어떤 파트가 노트 테이킹 하셔야 돼서 conversation 문제에 연관으로 문제가 나올지에 대해서 알아보겠습니다. Okay, first let's listen to the conversation between a professor and a student.
Listen to part of a conversation between a professor and a student. Jill, do you have a moment? I'd like to speak to you.
Sure, Professor Barnes. I have an hour free before my next class.
This will only take a few moments.
Okay, 우선 다 들었다고 가정하고 lecture로 넘어갈게요. Okay, so this time we will listen to the conversation one more time and point out the parts that might appear on your question. And I will tell you which part to pay special attention to and take notes on. Before we go, let's go over the parts of the questions again, the types of questions. 문제 유형, 무슨 문제 유형이 나올지 한번 다시 읊어보고 갈까요? 첫 번째, 항상 나오는 main idea question. What is the second type of questions? There will be supporting detail question, organization question. 무슨 타입의 question이 있나요? Attitude and function, 다시 듣기에서 나오는 attitude and function question. 그리고 inference question이 나오죠. So we will go over each part of the lecture and see what might be a part that would appear as these questions. Let's listen again.
Listen to part of a conversation between a professor and a student. Jill, do you have a moment? I'd like to speak to you.
Sure, Professor Barnes. I have an hour free before my next class.
This will only take a few moments. I wanted to talk to you about your note-taking habits, or lack of note-taking would be closer to the point.
Okay, here is your main idea. Let's highlight the important parts. I wanted to talk to you about your note-taking habits. Note-taking, 뭔가요? note-taking, 노트 정리. 그러니까 항상 해야 되는, 귀에 딱지가 않도록 말씀드린 note-taking habits. 학생이 노트 필기를 하는 버릇에 대해서, 노트 필기를 하는 버릇에 대해서 말씀하시고 싶습니다. Or lack of note-taking habits. Lack of 혹은 lack thereof, which means the student is not taking notes. Lack of note-taking habit 이게 나옴으로써 학생이 노트 필기를 하고 있지 않다. 그것이 오히려 주 문제가 되는 거죠. Let's see. Would be close to the point. Close to the point. 이게 내 요점에 더 가까운 말이다. So that's what he means. Alright, let's move on.
Oh, what do you mean?
I can't help but notice that you take very few notes during my lectures. Seeing as you sit in the front row, I can easily see your notebook. Sometimes I even see that you are just doodling instead of writing.
Okay, so sometimes I even see you are doodling instead of writing. So here, he is elaborating. He is talking more, giving detail about her lack of note-taking habits. So here is her problem. She is doodling. What is doodling? It's drawing. 낙서한다. Instead of writing. 글 쓰는 대신에 낙서하는 것도 그 여자가 이 학생이 앞줄에 앉아 있기 때문에 이게 다 보인다. So these might be important details that might appear on the question.
Does that bother you? I didn't think you'd mind.
Okay, so the main point is the student's note-taking. Main point은 학생이 note-taking을 하지 않는다. And there are two speakers to the conversation. So pay close attention to the professor's side and the student's side. The professor is telling the student he has a problem of her not taking notes. And the student is explaining why she isn't. So we also need to catch the student's perspective, how the student feels about this topic. Does that bother you? Does that bother you? I didn't think you'd mind. 이게 학생의 반응이죠. 그게 교수님의 그게 신경 쓰이시나요? 그 부분이 I didn't think you would mind. Mind 역시 these are similar. Mind, care. 신경 쓰지 않으실 거라고 생각했어요.
What gave you that idea? I mean, I stand in front of the class talking for 90 minutes. It would be nice if the students, all of the students, paid attention to what I was talking about.
Okay, what gave you that idea? 왜 그런 생각을 한 거지? 어떤 파트가 무엇이 너에게 그런 생각을 하게 만들었니? This could be a why mention question. This could be an inference question. 왜 교수님 이런 말을 하는지 알 수 있는 유형 문제. I stand up in front of the class talking for 90 minutes. If all of the students paid attention to what I was talking about, it would be nice. And this could be an inference question. 교수가 무엇을 원하는가? What does the professor want from his students? This could appear as a question as well.
I do pay attention. I just don't take a lot of notes.
Are you telling me that you remember everything that I say in every class?
No, not at all, though I wish that were the case. You told us on the first day of class that because this was a freshman biology class, you would be following the textbook very closely. So when I study, I just study from the textbook. I mean, if you are following the textbook, I don't really see a reason for why I need to write everything down again.
Okay, here is the student's side of why she's not taking notes. These could appear as detailed questions about the test, such as what did the professors say about the class, or inference question. What is the structure of the class? Let's see, first day of class, because this was a freshman biology class, this is an important detail that you want to write down. Freshman, she's in first year, biology class. What type of class is it? You would be following the textbook very closely. This is what the professor said. So, here's her reason. When she studies, she just studies from the textbook. How does the student study from the textbook? I mean, if you're following the textbook, I don't really see a reason for why I need to write everything down again. See what I mean? And here is our main question. Here is the student's point. Professor, you said you're going to follow the textbook, so why do I need to take notes? So here is the professor's response.
See what I mean?
Sure, I see what you think you mean, but I think you are making a big mistake. It is true that I follow the textbook very closely, but only so far as what biology topics I introduce on any given day. You will find the basic components of my lectures in the textbook, but you won't find every detail that I relate.
Huh? What do you mean?
Okay, here we have some expressions and words that are important. 단어 표현 갖고 갈게요. Sure, I see what you think you mean. Let's look at this versus I see what you mean. 이 문장과 혹시 이 문장이 I see, you think 없이 I see what you mean. What would be the difference? 이 you think you mean이 중요한 이 professor의 attitude에 관한 주제입니다. What you think you mean? 네가 어떤 말을 뜻하는지는 알겠는데, 어떤 생각을 하고 있는지는 알겠는데, but you're wrong. 이 생각이 틀렸다. What you mean? 네가 무슨 말인지 알겠어. I see what you mean. He's agreeing. I see what you think you mean. But you're wrong. This could be an inference question or this could be an attitude question. 다시 그때의 문장에 나올 수도 있는 문장이죠. But I think you're making a big mistake. Here you go. But you are making a big mistake. Why? We need to write this part down. This is an important detail question. It's true that I follow the textbook very closely, but only so far as. Only so far as. So far as. What does this mean? 뭐에 한해서만. 어떤 일에 한해서만 어디까지만. 어디까지만인가요? What biology topics I introduce on any given day. The topics that he introduces on any given day, 어떤 주어진 날에, 이 날에, on a specific day, on a certain day, on any day. Remember these words. You will find the basic components of my lectures in the textbook. Basic components. Component, 그 단어는 과학적으로, 과학이 많이 나오는 단어입니다. 과학의 어떤 물질의 성분, 어떤 물질의 구성 요소. 하지만 여기서는 lecture, 교수의 강의에 대해서 말하고 있기 때문에 parts of his lecture, the specific topics of the lecture in the textbook, but you won't find every detail that I can relate. Every detail, every examples. 주고 있는 예나 디테일에 관해서는 텍스트북 교과서에서 찾을 수 없다. What do you mean?
See, this is what I'm talking about. If you were paying attention, closely paying attention, and taking notes, you would have noticed that I often select different topics than those provided in the textbook and add examples of my own. I did so today. Yes, I did.
Okay, so here's a detailed question, or why mention question. Why does he mention that she needs to take notes? Purpose question. I often select different topics. 왜냐하면 책에 나와 있지 않는 다른 토픽에 대해서 강의를 하시니까. And add examples of my own. Okay, examples. And add examples. example을 더한다. 그렇기 때문에 학생이 노테이킹을 해야 하는 이유다. 메인 토픽, note-taking, the need to take notes. 여기에 연관성 있는 디테일 잡아주십니다. You did. Yes, I did. What was today's topic? And these could be also important details. 역시 디테일 퀘스천에 나올 수 있는 문장들이죠.
What was today's topic?
You were talking about alligators and crocodiles. You were talking about their physical and behavioral similarities and differences.
Talking about alligators and crocodiles. 악어들의 종류에 대해서 말씀하고 계셨어요. And you're talking about their physical and behavioral similarities and differences. 디테일을 나올 수 있는. What was the main point of the lecture? What was the topic of the professor's lecture? 또 note-taking 해주시고.
You see, that is straight from the textbook. But I also went into the geographic home regions of alligators and crocodiles.
Okay, here we go. Here is the important part of the lecture. This is the more important part. 이 학생이 알고 있는 메인 토픽보다 이 교수가 지금 교수님이 말씀해주신 내가 더 중요한 거죠. Why? Because this is his point. This is why she needs to take notes. Because he talked about in depth. 무엇인가를 다루다, 무엇인가를 파고들다, 어떤 토픽을 파고들다. Geographic home regions. What area of the world of alligators and crocodiles? 악어들의 거주지에 대해서 다뤘습니다.
Oh, right. But that is in the textbook as well.
Yes, it is. However, I also mentioned that there is only one place in the world where alligators and crocodiles live side by side in the same ecosystem.
Okay, here we go. The major point of the lecture. However, 하지만 that was in the textbook as well. 이것도 교과서에 있었지만 here is the professor's example of his own. 여기서 말씀하시고 계시는 교수 자신의 예. There is only one place in the world where alligators and crocodiles live side by side next to each other. 세계에서 지구에서 alligator과 crocodile 둘이 함께 어우러 살고 있는 곳은 한 장소밖에 없다.
I suppose that isn't in the textbook.
That's right, and that is why you need to pay attention and take notes, because those will be the types of questions that you will find on the first exam.
Okay, let's look at this part. That's right, and that is why you need to pay attention and take notes. He repeated this point several times, so do we need to write this point again? No, we don't. But let's look at this new information, because those will be the types of questions you will find on the first exam next week. Okay, so what is the professor doing? He is adding another information. He's adding additional information about why this is important, why this question is important. Why does she need to know where alligators and crocodiles live together? Because they have an exam next week. This could be an important detail question. This could be a why mention question. Why does he mention alligators and crocodiles and where they live? Right?
Next week.
Okay, thank you for setting me straight. I'll make sure to get the previous class notes from my classmates, and I'll definitely take good notes from now on.
Okay, the conversation is it's starting to wrap up. 마무리 지어주자. Thank you for setting me straight. 바로 잡아주다. So she is changing her mind. She's changing her attitude. This could be an attitude question. This could be a why mention question. Why did she say, thank you for setting me straight. I'll make sure to get the previous class notes. So what will the student do again? She will get the notes from a classmate. And I'll definitely take notes from now on. So she will take notes. Okay, let's finish listening.
Good.
So, where is it?
Where is what?
Where is the only place where crocodiles and alligators live side by side in the same ecosystem?
Okay, I'll give you this one. The only place in the world where alligators and crocodiles live side by side is Florida. I expect you to get that one right on the test.
Okay, and finally, I will give you this one. 이거 하나 너에게 줄게. I will tell you this. 이건 봐줄게. 요거는 우리가 잘못했지만 이건 알려줄게. 요건 한 번만. I will give you this one. One is emphasized. 이건 한 번만 알려줄게요. The only place is Florida. 마지막으로 Florida까지 적어주시고. Okay, now that we know what parts to pay attention to, we will move on to questions. 문제 풀고 다시 듣기까지 하고 오답 설명으로 넘어갈게요. Alright, let's look at the questions. What are the speakers mainly discussing? Of course, now we have our main point question, as always. Let's look at the answers. A, the student's behavior in the classroom. B, the research paper the professor assigned 과제는 지정한 과제를 낸. Did they talk about research paper? No. C, the importance of doing assigned reading. So you can eliminate B and C very quickly because nothing was mentioned about research paper or assigned readings, right? And D, the seating chart for the lecture hall. Seating chart. 좌석 배치도. Lecture hall. 교수의 강의실 안내 좌석 배치도. This is a very easy question. So students' behavior in the classroom. 물론 the main problem was the students' note-taking. 학생의 note-taking을 하지 않는다는 게 문제가 됐지만 그걸 다른 식으로 말하자면 학생의 태도가 학생이 교수한테 pay attention, 주의를 기울이지 않는 태도가 문제가 됐죠. So here's A. Number 2, listen again to a part of the conversation. Let's listen to the conversation.
Now get ready to answer the questions. Number 2, listen again to part of the conversation. Then answer the question. Sometimes I even see that you are just doodling instead of writing.
Does that bother you? I didn't think you'd mind.
What gave you that idea?
What gave you that idea? So what does he mean by what gave you that idea? Once again, research methods. 이거 보시는 순간 research에 대해서 아무 얘기 없었으므로 let's eliminate option A. Also, let's eliminate option B. Why? They never talk about the book, right? So, option B and C. He is confused by what the student is trying to say. 학생이 무슨 말을 하는지 헷갈려하고 있다. He is surprised by the student's attitude. What gave you that idea? 이 문장만 보고서는 긴지 시인지 헷갈릴 수도 있어요. 그래서 그 전에 문장을 봅니다. Sometimes I even see that you're just doodling instead of writing. 노테이킹하는 대신에 쓰는 대신에 낙서하고 있는 걸 본 적도 있어. Does that bother you? I didn't think you'd mind. 그게 신경 쓰시나요? 그렇게 신경 쓰실 거라고 생각 안 했는데 This isn't something he's confused. 이 무슨 뜻인지에 대해 학생이 무슨 말, 그 학생이 한 말이 무슨 뜻인지에 대해 헷갈리는 게 아니죠. He is surprised by the student's attitude. Why does this bother you? 왜 제가 노테이킹 안 한다는 게 신경 쓰이시는데요? 그 학생의 수업에 관한 태도에 대해 놀란 거죠. What gave you that idea? 왜 내가 안 놀랄 거라고 생각하니? Okay, number 3. According to the conversation, what are some features of the course? Choose 3 answers. Okay, this is the part where you need to take a close look at your notes. 디테일 문제 나왔네요. What are some features of the course? 이 수업의 feature, 수업의 중요한 부분들은 어떤 것인가요? Choose 3 answers. 3개 골라봅니다. Then let's try to eliminate. Let's try to eliminate which answer is false out of the 4. The lecture covers the material in the textbook. Yes, it does. She said so. The class is an introductory level course. Introductory. What does this mean? Introduction, 소개하는. This is a basic level. 낮은 레벨이라는 뜻이죠. If you take a look at the script again, you told us on the first day of class because this was a freshman biology class. 학생이 말했듯이 이 수업은 freshman biology class. 1학년 학생들이 듣는 생물학 수업입니다. Excuse me. Freshman, introductory. 1학년 학생들이 들으니 당연히 introduction, basic. 쉬운 레벨의 코스겠죠. Okay, so let's leave this one. The course is about reptiles and amphibians. Reptiles. What are reptiles? 파충류. So alligators and crocodiles are reptiles. 악어들이 파충류에 들어가는 건 맞아요. But amphibians, 양서류, for example, frogs, 맥주에 많이 나오는 개구리들. 개구리에 대해서 말을 했나요? 아니지요. So your answer is C. This was never mentioned. Okay, and let's look at B anyways. The professor often introduces new material, 새로운 자료들, new information, new topics, new concepts. 맞죠? Let's look at question number 4. What has the student's attitude towards the course been like so far? So far, 여태까지 교수님이 얘한테 note-taking에 대해서 주의를 주기 전까지 what was her attitude? The student has often been absent or late. That's never mentioned. The student has not been interested in studying biology. The student has not been taking it seriously, and the student has been loud and disruptive. Loud and disruptive. 요 mention도 없었지요. She doesn't talk. She doesn't text. She doesn't talk on the phone. She doesn't talk to her friends. So let's look at B and C. Has not been interested. 별로 생물학을 공부하는데 흥미가 없었다. 와, the student has not been taking it seriously. 그 수업을, 교수의 강의를 이렇게 심각하게 듣고 있지 않았다. These could both be right. B번이 맞다고 생각하실 수도 있어요. 하지만 C번이 더 옳은 answer. 그 이유는 not taking it seriously. 우리는 지금 학생의 attitude, 태도를 보고 있으니까 taking it seriously. 수업 시간에 doodle, 낙서하고 교수님 말 안 듣고 있고 노테이크 하지 않고 있으니 학생은 이 수업을, 교수의 렉처는 정확히 교수의 렉처는 그렇게 심각하게 듣고 있지 않았다. Here is your answer. And finally, what can be inferred about the course? Here is your inference question. 이 코스에 어떤 게 이 코스에 대해서 유추될 수 있나요? It is beginning of the semester. There will be daily pop quizzes. It's a very large class. The course only meets once a week. Let's see. There will be daily pop quizzes. Let's go back to our lecture. The only informations that are given to us about the class itself are that it's a freshman biology class. He talks to students for 90 minutes, and they have a first exam next week. Let's see. With that three information, what can be inferred? There will be daily pop quizzes. No, they haven't had any pop quizzes. pop quiz 프로젝트 시험 없었죠. 그 말은 그 언급은 없었어요. It's a very large class. We don't know that. 교수가 학생 이름을 알 정도고 학생이 또 테이핑 안 하지 않는 것도 알고 있으면 maybe it's not a very big class. The course only meets once a week. 일주일에 한 번밖에 안 만난다. 일주일에 한 번밖에 수업이 없다. 모르고 있죠. It's beginning of the semester. Why? They're taking their first exam. 첫 번째 시험이 다가오고 있으므로 학기의 처음 부분에 더 가까울 것이다. Okay? That's it.
교수님,